Welcome everyone back to the channel. I am Nuclear Death Ray, aka Knucklerar. In today's video, it's just going to be me, no Wozard today, but I think it should be a shorter video. I just played a Frenemies game recently, so all level 1 Phobies against WiCommunist, and we got to this endgame shown here, which I believe is an excellent showcase of this concept called action economy. And I wanted to go over it to discuss why action economy is so important, why it's important to be thinking about, and how you can use it to win some of your games. So I hope you enjoy, and I hope I don't ramble on too long and make this video longer than it needs to be. So before we get into what happens here, I want to define what action economy is. The basic idea of action economy is that every phobie has 2 actions, with the exception of Billy. But every other phobie has 2 actions that you can do stuff on your turn. That means on a large map, a full team comp of 7 phobies, you get 14 actions to do stuff on your turn. Normally, in most games, in the middle game, in the opening, you still get to summon more phobies to build out your full team, which means both players get the same number of actions to work with. However, as you reach an end game, frequently you don't have any keys to summon more phobies, or phobies get traded down, so then all of a sudden you're in these situations where you have 5 phobies against your opponent's 3, or 3 against 2, or 6 against 5, or as you see right now, I have 7 phobies, my opponent has 6. In those cases, we would call that I have an action economy advantage here, because I have more phobies and more actions to work with. When you have an action economy in the endgame, or an action economy advantage in the endgame, you frequently have the ability to make more threats, capture panic points, go for the heart, go for kills in ways that you would not be able to do normally. And we're going to see that pan out here, because action economy is a major reason why I end up winning this game. So I guess spoiler alert, I win this game. And thank you to WiCommunist for playing this game with me. So I started here so that we can see how we arrived at the end game that plays out. So we'll see in just a second, WiCommunist uses a nice brony debuff, hitting 4 of my phobies and none of his. So that means that those 4 phobies with butterflies around them, let me pause. These ones here will not be able to deal any damage for the next 2 turns. Although it is worth mentioning that my Muffet and Pearl abilities and Gravedigger abilities, I can still use them, they just can't do damage. So I want to point out one thing that I was seeing here on this turn. I have a nice little tactic that I can use to kill the brony, where I can bring Muffet here, pull that brony in, fly Pearl to the panic point, shove the brony into the abyss, killing it. That also shoves the Muffet back, which means I can then put a block down with my Gravedigger and move my Gravedigger back. Of course, so then that leaves my phobies like this. This allows my opponent, with the Muffet here, to break this block with Gravedigger, pull my Pearl, hit twice with Muffet, or hit once with Muffet and once with the pull, once again with Gravedigger, and once with Hematic Instinct. That will kill my Pearl. So I want you to be thinking about, is this trade worth it? And if so, why? And if not, why? Essentially what this trade is it trades a chipped Pearl for a brony that has just used its ability and won't be very useful until several turns down the line, and I get a panic point out of it. And the answer is this is definitely a useful trade, and it comes down to this idea of action economy. Remember, my opponent does not have any keys left in Vault to replace that brony, whereas I do. So when my Pearl dies, I get to replace it, and when my opponent's brony dies, he doesn't. That means I get an even bigger action economy advantage. And you'll see I'm doing the same thing on the bottom here, where I'm trying to trade out that cassowary for one of my phobies, where I can replace it again and get an even bigger action economy advantage. So you'll see this play out. Cassowary kills the Razormouth. WiCommunist gets this kill on the Pearl. And then he drops back with Klepto. So, the cassowary is just about to die. It's only got, 90 HP. Finished off very, very easily by the creep. So another question that is worth thinking about here. What should I be summoning? I have 2 keys and I have 5 phobies. I maintain my action economy advantage to its most extreme by summoning 1 key phobies. 2 of them. Also, I want to point out that I'm summoning phobies with 2 movement because I need them to get into the fight sooner rather than later. This also allows the 1 key phobies to move farther to pick up panic points or just to make more threats. It's more versatile this way. And we'll see a really good example of why action economy is important on my next turn. So far I've only talked about I have the advantage, but one thing I want to point out here too, by the way, I have 20 keys total and my opponent has 20 keys total. So this is actually one of the reasons why I think this is a great example of action economy, is that we have the same number of keys, I just have it split into more phobies. And if you'll look, none of WiCommunist's phobies are damaged at all, whereas my Noxious and my Creep have both been chipped. But here again, I have a pull opportunity. I have a tactic again using Muffet, something that might not normally be good, where Muffet can move up, pull his Muffet, and then Gravedigger can move up and hit, and Bow can move up and hit, and Noxious can move up and hit, and that kills the enemy Muffet here. However, if you, in a normal game, what would happen is WiCommunist could then double hit with Klepto, move Hematic over, and hit and kill my Muffet, not to mention doing a ton of chip damage to 3 other phobies. Normally that wouldn't really be a worthwhile trade because we're just trading Muffet for Muffet, and he does a bunch of chip damage. However, as you'll see in this turn, not only are we trading another phobie each, which then means I have a 6-3 advantage instead of a 7-4, I can do stuff with my other phobies. This is where the action economy advantage comes in. I still have other phobies to spend, whereas he has to spend those actions in a specific way in order to kill my guys. So you'll see here, I am overloading all of WiCommunist's phobies here. So, what does that mean? That basically means, looking at his Hematic and Klepto, he would normally be able to kill all of these in one turn. Or he could deal with this in one turn. Or he could try and capture panic points. But he can't do multiple of those at the same time. And if we look, his heart is getting chipped pretty low. It was not that bad just a few turns earlier, but because I was able to capture panic points and I have the phobies to spend and the actions to spend to be able to capture panic points, it's much easier for me to pile on that chip damage. So here, WiCommunist recognizes that the most important thing is to capture a panic point to prevent, the heart from going down. But at this point, the game is over. And it's been over for a little bit. So I have several ways to win here. I've been really piling on that heart, so I decide let's just destroy the defender, the Gravedigger of the heart, or the Gravedigger, the defender of the heart. And this ends up winning pretty quickly. So one thing to note here, it was only a few turns where it looked like a much more even position, and then I ended up winning. And that's what can happen when you have such a sizable advantage like I did with this action economy. So here, WiCommunist gets several kills, and even if this Noxious died, or even if this Gravedigger died, it doesn't really matter because I'm still doing a lot of panic point damage. He's only got 300 health on his heart. My bow can move up and my Gravedigger can get a bunch more hits. So I actually have a lot more damage on the heart even than I did, which means this heart could have been much, much healthier and I still would have been able to kill it. So again, this just points to how powerful having that action economy advantage can be. And knowing this, I think it's useful because it means that when I see, well, number one, when I see, let's maybe go ahead here. I see this position. I know that I have a huge advantage. I don't have to calculate anything. I know just based on the number of phobias I have versus the number of phobias my opponent has that I have a big advantage, and this is something worth going for. Which means when I'm evaluating that Pearl dive to trade the Brony for the Pearl, or when I'm evaluating what happens here, I know that like I can move my phobias in such a way that even though the Brony can get this huge hit, it can debuff so many of my phobias here, I can still just trade out my Pearl for the Brony, and that's going to be a positive thing for me. So I hope this was instructive. I hope you're able to learn a little bit from that. Thanks again to WiCommunist for playing this game. It was originally a Chonky's test match, but I actually think this was a lot more instructive than what we were originally going for. So I hope you enjoy. If you have any other ideas or questions, please let me know, either on this YouTube video or in Discord. And I will see you in the next video.